Yes, thank you. If you look at the Ghana Must Go episode in Nigeria in late 70s into the early 80s, you look at the examples you've cited in Ghana, in South Africa, maybe one or two, maybe also there have been also some anti-Nigerian issues in Kenya and perhaps Uganda. There are two or three key things that always, underline such or that precede such events. One, when countries are struggling economically, it is always easy to scapegoat foreigners. You see that happening now in America and Europe when it comes to immigration. So national governments tend to deflect blame to foreigners when it comes to the issues of poverty and lack of opportunities for people when people are not able to get by in terms of jobs and all the basic essentials of life. So it is essentially a development issue, a development problem that tends to manifest itself as these xenophobic, attacks and all of that. And of course, we also know issues of crime and all of that. There are some of our fellow Nigerians, going to other countries, being culturally insensitive by trying to install, kings and all of that in foreign land. So, but all of these things are contextualized when it comes to domestic struggles, domestic politics in those countries. But there is a bigger issue that we need to address, and I'm going to, give you a pointed example of that. You go to the border crossings, like Lagos, Seme border crossing, and all the other border crossings between Nigeria and Cameroon, for example. Look at the amount of suffering it takes for people to cross the border. Look at the amount of extortion that happens at this border. Look at the amount of checks that happen at these borders. How easy or uneasy is it for fellow Africans to travel across the border to transact business, across the border? We hear of horror stories, even at the highest level, people like Dangote and the rest struggling to be able to, to transact business. The issue came up in terms of cross-border payment and all the other things that that have been spoken about in the recent summit in Kigali and the rest. Even as an African, you travel from Nigeria to Benin, you have to go and buy another SIM card. Or if you put your phone on roaming, you are going to pay exorbitant, prices. So there are important institutional, inhibitions that are, that continue to militate against, cross-border Africans to African.
And which is also